Hey, we're live. Hello, folks, friends, people that pay attention to this record label. This is our first ever interview series. Oh, we have to mute this. Hold on. That's my problem. There we go. This is our first interview. We're going to start doing this a little bit more, try to build up the channel a bit, try to let whoever's watching and fans of the band interact with the band and get a little more information about the band and what goes into recording these albums that they make. And Canis Dirus, we've got Todd and Rob. Say hello, friends.
Hey, everybody. Hello.
We have a
Thanks for having us. Hello.
Hey, thanks for being the guinea pigs, essentially.
We're the pigs.
Us pigs need to stick together, right?
Yes.
But well, we're here for a purpose.
Contractually, we were obligated. So.
Go ahead. There's a lag. Sorry. Go ahead. You were saying something, and I cut you off. I'm sorry. There's a, like I said, a lag.
This is kind of. It was just a dumb joke. I said contractually we're obligated to do this. We didn't really want to.
Right.
We have a contract?
I'm kidding.
It's just a little one, not a big deal. The Bentleys are coming, by the way. They must have got lost in the mail.
Yeah.
Well, we might as well get started here. We're here for a purpose, and it's to talk about Independence to the Beast, which is you guys' first album in 8 years, which, I mean, having children, you kind of realize the passage of time in a kind of grim, surprising way, and also putting out albums also is a big milestone. But I think with this album, it feels a lot more personal than your other two albums have been. Would that be a correct assessment?
Yeah, I mean, for me, absolutely. And I don't want to. I know Todd's got a little bit of a lag, so I decided to jump in. But for me, lyrically, the first two albums, I went in to both recordings, like with lyric outlines, like ideas of songs I wanted to do or lyrics I wanted to do. But a lot of it was kind of John Tardied, if you will. There's certainly a line here and there and some words here and there, but a lot of it was just improvised. And I think I had mentioned this before, maybe even in a previous interview with you before, Marty, but like that, those records for me were, when I tried to write lyrics for them, I couldn't get anything that felt right. But this time around, like the material Todd put together, and I don't want it to sound cheesy, but it just sat with me differently. And so the tracks that I wrote lyrics to this time around are very personal to me and just kind of shit that I've been dealing with, I guess, the last 8-9 years. So from my standpoint, yes, it's much more personal. I'll shut up now.
Okay, Todd.
Boy, this will be I'm going to try to give the Cliff Notes version of this. Just number one, because of time. Essentially, I could go on forever talking about what kind of led up to, I guess, us even deciding that we wanted to even make a third album. Your question alluded to this album being extremely personal, and it's extremely personal for me. On and On Nor, our second record for Morbund, came out in, I think, August of 2012, and my son was born in October of 2012, and he was born 6 weeks early, and he had a ton of medical issues. He spent a lot of time in the hospital. Even for a preemie, he spent way more time in the hospital than he should have, because Doctors couldn't really figure out what was going on with him. He wasn't growing. He wasn't thriving. He couldn't keep food down. So, I mean, fast forward to 3 months into his life, we were finally able to take him home, and my wife had exhausted all of her what do you call it, the maternity leave. So she had to go back to work right away when we finally brought him home from the hospital. So I took some time off from work, and I was feeding him and whatever. And he just stopped breathing at home. And so we rushed him to the hospital. Long story short, I mean, they couldn't figure out what was going on with him at first. Doctors were extremely baffled by things that were going on with him. It was in kidney failure, heart failure, hypothermic. His blood sugar was 7. Anyway, come to find out that he was born without a pituitary gland. So he has a lot of congenital, really took a toll on me emotionally, to the point where, you know, it's his health and his well-being and that was way more important than Rob and I being pseudo rock stars. And so
that is true, but it's nice to have a creative and cathartic release. You know,
it was never really. And for sure, and so and again, I'm trying to speed this up and trying to streamline this, but the Cliff Notes version is that Rob and I never. I mean, we kind of discussed, you know, kind of what the future of the band was going to be. I had always told him that, like, you know, I mean, literally, there was a time where I had no interest whatsoever in even picking up a guitar. I put all my guitars in their cases and I put them away, just because it was just, you know, emotionally it was too hard. So I would say for about probably 5.5, 6 years of his life, I never even picked up an instrument, never even played an instrument. And then he started to get better because one of his things is that he has a heart issue, and so he had a couple years ago he had open heart surgery. He's 7 now. So a couple years ago he had open heart surgery, and that caused him to start to feel a lot better. He still has a bunch of medical issues, but as he started to feel better, it allowed me time to do other things.
Yep.
And so Rob and I again, or at least you know, giving it a shot to see, you know, if, you know, write some music and just see what happens, and so that's what we did. And
I had basically spent that 7 year period.
It was a struggle at first, having not played,
waiting.
right.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Todd.
He's on a bit of a lag.
He wasn't crying in his garage. He was drinking. Let's be honest. Anyway, so for the record, I told Rob this is going to be extremely personal for me because of everything that's been going on, and I've got all this shit inside me that needs to get out. And literally, like, one of the only ways that I know how to deal with, you know, that kind of shit is to create. So I bought equipment, started fucking around, kind of got a little bit of a better studio situation going. Started throwing together some ideas and riffs. kind of started out real slow, wasn't working right at first. Well, you know, kind of the direction we wanted to go with this and what we wanted to do. It clicked. I mean, it just clicked in all this. All these skills. So that's where we're at now. That's how we got independence to the beast.
Well, Rob, knowing that Todd was coming from this area of needing to express himself and from all the stuff that's been going through with his family and his son, I mean, like you had mentioned, you pulled you do the party thing in the past, and now you're given this body of work that's definitely a bit more scary, a little bit more emotional. How do you guys get on the same page? I mean, you said you went through some stuff as well to get on paper to scream out, but how did you feel when this material started rolling in? You're like, this is the right progression, this is where it needs to be, and how did you feel with all this stuff?
So I guess for me, one of the biggest differences between, you know, the previous albums was this time Todd, as things were coming together, he kind of mentioned, but he would send me riffs, or he'd send me little segments, and, you know, we sort of worked together to piece things around a little bit more. But because, you know, I know that, you know, everybody's had a rough period here or there, but like, because I knew how personal this was to him, and just the way you could hear it in the material he's putting together, I didn't see going in with the tardy thing as being, I didn't think it would do it justice. You know, like there was a time where we even talked about maybe I shouldn't be on this record because it is so personal to him. You know, no matter what shit I've been through, I can't imagine the stuff that they've lived through. You know, you never know until you're in somebody else's shoes, right?
Oh yeah.
And I mean, Vaughn's a fucking fighter, right? And the fight that they've been through together as a family is unbelievable. And so anyway,
yeah,
I felt it wouldn't do it justice to just come in and kind of have a few lines here and there. So I tried to make it more personal. And initially, some of the song titles were even put together by Todd. And he had certain ideas for them as they related to his son. But for me to try to do lyrics to that just seemed also kind of fake. Like I might as well be writing about the devil at that point, you know, because I don't know it. I don't know, or whatever. So I tried to make it more personal to me, just shit that, whether it's something in my head or experiences I've had in my life or whatever. So that's kind of what I pulled together, if you will. And as I mentioned, and I'm sorry I'm rambling a bit, but
there's no, as I mentioned, ramble all you want.
Like he would throw. So the biggest difference, I guess, is aside from having actual lyrics for all the songs this time, there was more of a collaboration, and I think this time, and I can't really speak for Todd, but I think on the first two albums, for one thing, were fucking a decade ago, right? They were more straightforward in the black metal realm, and a lot's changed since then. But this time, I think he really truly just let it go. It seems like these tracks wrote themselves, and at the risk of sounding cheesy, to me, they wrote themselves, and that's why they're so fucking cool. And if you listen to them, and at least for me, when I listen to them, they flow. If you don't pay attention, they might seem kind of abrasive at points, but they're not. Like, they fucking flow beautifully. And I just think, yeah, I don't know. So I'll shut the fuck up. I'm sorry, guys.
But Todd, yeah. I mean, before all of this went down, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I don't know what's going on with this delay. I apologize to everybody, but Rob brought up actually a really good point. If you just put the album on, and obviously people will find this out, come the 19th, when the album is released. But if you just randomly picked a song or whatever, and played it, or even if you put a CD in your just player or whatever and press shuffle, the album would probably seem extremely disjointed. But if you listen to the album from track 1 through 6 in the order that it's sequenced, it won't. It at least my hope is that it won't sound disjointed at all. And what I mean by that is that Rob brought up the fact that our first 2 records are we were just a straight ahead black metal band on our first 2 albums, and there's elements of there's definitely elements of black metal on this new record, particularly the opening track. But it's, in my opinion, I don't even really consider Canis Dirus a black metal band any longer. It's the direction that I wanted to go with this new album and going forward is to almost make it so that people can't pigeonhole us. And a little bit of that might be because of my frustration of people wanting to call us suicidal black metal from the beginning, and that's always bothers me. But anyways, I'm rambling too, but it's the album. I wanted to make this very vast record sonically and musically, and I think for the most part, I'm not trying to separate my shoulder, pat myself on the back, but I think for the most part we accomplished what we set out to do in terms of encompassing a lot of different elements, a lot of different genre types, a lot of different sounds on the record.
Well, for people that don't know,
and Rob, quit fucking texting me. You know how distracted.
For people that don't know, Todd has done projects like Dormant, Uval, Celestial Sea, and now Elktooth. And I know I'm missing some stuff, Todd, so forgive me. But you're right. The people that decide to start listening to this album out of sequence would think it's a different album. Have you kind of like cast these other projects aside and just putting everything you've got into Canis Dirus and saying, it doesn't really matter, there's no boundaries, essentially?
That's a kind of a loaded question. I would say with Canis Dirus, now that this new album is the way that it is, other than we're certainly not going to make a hair metal album for the next record or anything like that, but I'm not going to put any boundaries on Canis Dirus at all from this point on. You've heard you've heard one of the 2 tracks that's going to be on that split that we're going to be doing with Bitter Spring Sleep. That one of those tracks is like very progressive. I don't know. Canis Dirus for me is just going to be. It's always going to have black metal, black and doom metal, that common thread. But I'd like to even expand the sound even further. But with some of the other stuff, Dormant is, Dormant is Dormant. I only put out one album as Dormant, and I put it out on my old, now defunct label. It's possibly going to get a reissue on cassette soon here. I don't want to say any details about it because I haven't talked to the label owner in a long time. Cassettes have been with COVID and stuff. It's just, cassette manufacturing is really, really shitty right now. So I'm just going to leave them alone so everything kind of simmers down. Obviously, Uval. Uval is done. I put out two albums on blackmetal.com. Blackmetal.com is now Defunct. Debbie sold her headbangers. So if anybody is interested in my Revolve stuff, you can go to Hell's Headbangers and buy the discs for $1. And what else? Elk Tooth. Elk Tooth is my new just straight up neo folk project that I've been working with Megan from Crown of Asteria. But there's not much out there right now. There's quite a few songs that are written but not fully recorded yet. And then I recently resurrected my old dark ambient project called Cool Harvest. I've got a full album's worth of material already recorded. I'm just waiting on Gabriel from New Wisdom Throne to add some like ritualistic drums to one of the tracks, and then that album will be finished. And I don't know when. I mean, it might just come out on Bandcamp or whatever. I don't have any grand designs for it, like putting it out, chopping it to labels or anything like that. It's just another creative outlet, I think.
See the question?
Oh yeah. Look at that, it popped right up on the screen.
How did y'all end up collaborating? What's up, Austin? Austin Lunn is asking, how did y'all end up collaborating with Ron from When Bittersweet Sleeps? I don't even really know, honestly. I had been talking with so Ron on Independence to the Beast. There's two just straight up neo folk songs, and Ron helped me out with some vocal. He sang on the chorus parts for both of those tracks, and we just got to talking. His latest album, Star Throne, is amazing. For people who haven't checked it out, you really should check out Star by When Bitter Sleeps. It's an amazingly original album. And Rob and I had two tracks that were just kind of sitting around from the sessions that we, the music that we recorded for Independence to the Beast. We had these tracks that were just kind of floating around. We didn't really know what to do with them, and we just talked about maybe just doing a split with, I don't know, Panopticon maybe. But it turns out that I was talking with Ron and just asked if he'd be down to do a split with us, and that's he said, yeah, let's do it.
Well, Ron was on the new album, and there was also some other people that contributed to this album. I mean, what could you talk about those guys, and what did outside influence bring to your band, to the final product?
Well, if
Todd, I will say right now that without
okay, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I don't know if we're able to say this, but I think we are. So we recruited Carl Skildum to do bass on the album. Carl and I go back quite a ways. I'd say probably close to 30 years ish.
Super nice dude, talented dude.
Oh yeah, he's awesome, fantastic musician, great guy, like one of the nicest, one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. So, we had asked him if he'd be interested in doing that, and thankfully he said yes. And I mean, the work he did on there was fantastic. And I don't know if we can, say anything about his other bands, but Obsequy is one of them, and I can't remember the name of what's his solo project, guys.
Starts with an I, doesn't it?
Inexorum.
Yes. Anyway, so yeah.
Inexorum.
Yep. I just wanted to say thanks to Carl and heads up there, or thanks. That was awesome. So yeah. Who else, Todd?
For sure. Carl did an amazing job. He it felt, honestly, it felt kind of weird approaching a guitar player of his magnitude and saying, "Hey, you want to play bass on the new Canis Dirus record?" But as Rob alluded to, I mean, he's just such a great guy, and he had no qualms. I mean, he didn't pause. He's just like, hell yeah, that'd be great. And he was just super easy to work with. Whenever we had a track that was basically complete in terms of the structure and whatnot, I wouldn't even have to tell him what key the song was in. I mean, at first I did, but the very first song that I ever sent him was "Child and the Serpent," and I gave him all these notes. It's in this key, and then it starts out at 50 BPMs, I think, and then it the fastest it gets is 55 BPM. So, but anyway, then he just, like, from there, he just took it. I mean, we didn't have to even really say much. From that point on, I just sent him a track and why am I on here by myself?
I did that on purpose.
Are you guys still on here? Okay. Oh, okay. Freaking me out, man. Anyway, so Carl actually, the awesome bass lines that you will hear on the new record is Carl Skildum, and the album wouldn't be what it is without his help. And then we recruited an old friend of mine that I've known for more than half my life. I think we was in probably junior high, and he's a really good dude. He's not really into extreme metal though, but what he is he's a really good like shred type guitar player. And he had always wanted to do something on one of my songs, going way back, and so we finally had an opportunity to have him do a solo for us, and he did there's a part in one of the songs where it's it kind of, I don't know, goes into like a bit of a thrashy part, kind of just a chugga all muted riff, and he put this amazing guitar solo over the top of it, and he did such a good job that I asked him to contribute some other things. So he plays Evo on the last track, Unyielding, and then we had Joseph Mlodic from Noctilukant. I can't ever say that, which is a dark ambient project. He provided the ambience that kind of leads into, it's the intro to The Child and the Serpent.
I fucking love that song.
We have an open door policy. We won't. I mean, if somebody's got something. Yeah, and you can thank this dude right here too, because I wanted to give Rob actual. I wanted to give him writing credit for that song, because when we were first working on Child and the Serpent, I kind of had the basic sort of structure. I mean, I had the main sort of like doomy riff down, but then the middle part, the first incarnation of that song, the middle part got fast, and then it got kind of like goofy rocking. It was that song has gone through probably 6 or 7 different transformations. But what you will hear on the album is a direct result of Rob fucking just pushing me and pushing me and pushing me. Every time I'd send him a new version of the song, I asked him, how's this sound? What do you think about this? No, man, it's not quite right. It's getting there, but it's not quite right. And so he he had a hand in a lot of the it's not that he wrote any of the songs, but he really pushed me to kind of get these songs to kind of where they're at, and yeah, the Child and the Serpent is I'm not, this does not come from a place of ego whatsoever, but I mean it is seriously the best song we've ever written, hands down, in my opinion.
Kind of takes things to new levels. I mean, there's a lot of different elements going on within that song, and just the layering of voices, it almost, like I said, it gives it a very nightmarish quality, which was initially, the first time I heard it, very surprising, and it just seemed like the next level for sure.
Yeah, we're really happy with how it came out. Really happy.
Well, you mentioned getting some different gear going into this album, and I would definitely say that Independence of the Beast has more depth to it than your previous albums. Would you guys agree with that?
I do. Yeah,
Most definitely,
for sure. And I think, again, I can't speak for Todd or where he was first two albums, but I think that Todd really broke out of his writing shell with the first two albums. Like the first two were more kind of confined within the realm of black metal, and this time he just let himself go, which is what really makes it stand out, in my opinion.
What kind of gear are you using, Todd?
Yeah, when I mean, in terms of, in terms of guitars and amplification, nothing really any different than I used prior, except for on the first two records I tracked with a Tascam track studio, and then I ended up having to do a lot of bouncing because those songs have more than 8 tracks. It was kind of a crude way of recording, because as soon as you bounce 6 tracks down to a stereo pair, you can't mix them anymore. You have to keep it the way it is, and then when you add layers, it just, so we just started using a DAW and that kind of stuff. And just different types of effects and whatnot. It's, I mean, different types of gear. It's just a different mindset, really.
Well, you guys have been doing this for 11 years now. What do you think was the impetus for making this band a reality?
For me, I wanted to get rich and have a lot of chicks. So, I mean,
oops.
Yeah.
Oops. And you didn't look good.
But I mean, way
what
back.
Was that?
I said he doesn't look
What'd
good.
You say, Marty?
I said he doesn't look good in tights, so you had to do this style of music.
I beg to differ, but whatever.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, it just, it all started. So way back in the beginning, Todd and I just started talking because he ran God Is Myth and I ran Ars Magna, and we had collaborated on a release and talked shop a lot. And when he decided to try something new, he said, "Hey, would you be interested in trying some vocals on this? I'm looking for this certain style." I said, "Yeah, sure, shit, why not?" And we gave it a shot, and it worked, and sounded good, and the rest is rock and roll history. And you'll see it on VH1 in about 20 years.
Maybe.
You mark my words.
Maybe. Well, it's just, you guys have been pretty productive. I mean, granted, there's been gaps and stuff throughout your history, but for two guys that live so far apart from each other, you're still somewhat productive. Has the distance been frustrating? I mean, obviously, it kind of takes you guys out of the playing live realm, but
I can say for sure that Todd, it sucks for Todd because he's always
Yeah,
ready to go through the material, and it takes me forever to record vocals. So there's that.
right.
I ain't going anywhere. Yeah, I mean, you know, as it goes on, as time goes on, the live aspect is really something that I don't want to say it bothers me, but I don't know. I would love the opportunity to at least play live once. But you know, as you know, Marty, I mean, I'm pretty much, you know, I do most of all the instruments. You know, it would be a logistical nightmare, I think. Not only because of Rob being in Columbus and me having to, you know, recruit some live musicians, but also just, I again, I don't want to talk about my son too much. Me and my wife are really trying to protect his privacy as he gets older.
Okay.
But have to be helicopter parents. And so I don't really get the opportunity to be away from the house for long periods of time. So like rehearsals and different things like that would be, it just wouldn't work out. So the live aspect is something that's really kind of shitty, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, there's a lot of metal bands that don't play live.
Oh, sure.
You know, when we were recording On and On More, when he would come up to Minnesota to do his vocals on the first two records, and when we were recording On and On More, Rob got really toward the end, you know, the last couple songs that we recorded, he got really fatigued. And so the vocal performance wasn't up to par. It didn't match what he had done earlier in those sessions. So he ended up having to come back. And I mean, for me, it wasn't a problem for me. I mean, maybe it was a problem for him, but you know, the driving back and forth and this and the other thing. And again, that sounds you know, first world problems, right?
Right. Well, for people that may be just coming onto this band for the first time in this stream, I mean, you've put out two other albums, two other full lengths, and an EP. And I guess let's start with A Somber Wind from a Distant Shore. I mean, that was 11 years ago. There was a definite Scandinavian influence on it, mixed with your own black metal vibe. What are your thoughts on this album? Listening back on it, does it hold up for you?
I love it. I like it a lot. I still like it. I like it more, I think, than the second one. And I think, I will say, I'm not going to speak again for Todd, but I think Todd would agree that the debut was great. There were some great songs on it. I still love the second album, but I think the first stands up better for me. And I can see where, you know, especially it did have a depressive tone to it. But we got lumped into that whole the suicidal black metal movement, and probably a lot of because of the vocals as well. And just that wasn't what we were really into. It just happened to work out that way. But I really think it's a great album. The first one for sure.
Todd?
And
I'll take those two questions. I'll take those two questions that came in through the stream. Faith, hope. Man, I wish we could come to Brazil. I think just playing in my backyard would be a problem enough, let alone going to Brazil. And Austin, thanks, appreciate that. It's in my opinion, I think it's a fantastic record as well. it's you mentioned that it's got a lot of Scandinavian influence, and I can see that. But man, back then I was like so into Austere, the band from that was what facilitated me asking Rob to do vocals, because I knew just from talking to a friend of ours that we had in common, that I knew that Rob had that style of vocal that he could do. So maybe it's my fault that we were lumped into the suicidal stuff, but I was just so into that band Austere back then, and I think I think, in my opinion, I think it shows, and that album, the way that it sounds and the way that it's written, is, for me, it's really special, just because I think the songs are very strong, but it's also special to me because it's Canis Dirus' first record, and I've gone on record as saying this a lot, and I'm not going to harp on it too much, but I don't like our second album. I to this day I can't even really listen to it. I mean, there's a couple songs. Our will is our own. I can listen to that song. Like there's maybe one or two others that I can listen to, but overall, for the most part, I felt rushed. I put too much pressure on myself to get it out, because my wife was pregnant and stuff, and then it just doesn't mesh with me. I don't like that record.
It seems to be a little more stripped to its core, a little more cult, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't know if it's in the sound production or just the overall urgency and feel of the music. I mean, I don't think it's a bad record at all.
I still like it. And I think you're kind of spot on, Marty. Like, we were going for maybe something more raw, but like Todd said, it ended up being kind of rushed. I think it started out good. The material, I mean, and I don't think any of it sucks, right? But yeah, the material, it started out pretty strong, like the initial writing phase and whatnot, and then we did rush it. And like Todd mentioned a minute ago, I came out, I had a shitty vocal performance, so I had to come back and do it again. And it ended up just being kind of, because I had to come out and do it the second time, it got rushed in the final mix and whatnot. It didn't end up being as good as it probably should have been. But I still like it,
I get that, man, because the way you sing is so desperate, and it's not desperate in a bad way, but I mean, just the screams are so fucking pushed and ugly, and it's got to take a lot out of you. I mean, I can't imagine getting up there for a weekend and just knocking that out in the course of a couple days. That's quite a taxing on your body and your mind and the whole thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it absolutely, especially since we don't play live, and we don't practice. If we were to practice, you could build up that resilience and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I'm not complaining. That's my own damn fault that I'm not doing something more, permanent or with a band in Columbus or what have you. But yeah, and that's what it was. And it didn't help any either that for both of the first albums, I may or may not have had a lot of Jack Daniels in me. So that was kind of messing with the throat a bit. But not an excuse, just a mistake. But yeah.
And the second one, On and On More, it was in the middle of the summer, and it was hot as shit, and I had a vocal booth that I had set up down in the basement of the house that I happened to be living in at the time, and it was just, I don't know.
In a bathroom. It was in a bathroom.
I don't have good memories or feelings about it. Yep, it was in the bathroom. Yep. How cult is that?
Brutal.
A question here. That cover art, I took that photo in Tofty. I'm sure Austin knows where Tofty is. For those who don't know, Tofty is a little town that's up on the north shore of Lake Superior here in Minnesota. there's quite a few photos actually within the booklet and the artwork or whatever on and on north that were taken up north or northern Minnesota.
Well, after that album, you guys put out an EP after 7 years, the Das Leben. I'm not going to say the whole fucking thing because I can't. But it shows more inclusion. What?
It translates to "Life is for the living, death is for all."
Oh, right on.
In English.
But it shows more of an inclusion of other musical and ritualistic styles. I mean, how important was it for you guys to release these 2 tracks? I mean, it'd been a while.
I don't know if
you want to take that one, Rob?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, from my standpoint, basically they were, left over from previous sessions. We had been, like Todd had mentioned earlier, we weren't even sure if Canis Dirus was ever going to happen again. It was to the point where he was done. I mean, Todd was done. He had told me at one point, "I'm done, dude. I can't. I'm done." And I respected that. And so it was kind of a surprise that, we had kept in touch, of course, but then I started getting these messages from him like, "Hey, man, the fire's kind of burning," or whatever. Just whatever. And so we wanted to kind of, once he decided that this was something he wanted to try to do again, and he was something able to do again and wanted to do, he found those couple of tracks that were sitting around, and we cleaned them up a little bit and went back at it and thought it'd be a good way to kind of get us reintroduced in a sense. As we were talking more about, what do we want to do, or do we just want to put these 2 songs out and just kind of close it out, or do we want to move forward? And by that time he had started writing some new stuff, and it was just flowing, and it just made sense to keep going. So that's my side of the story. You better agree, Todd.
I agree. Originally the acoustic version. So that there's a metal song on that EP, and then there's an acoustic version
Garden
of Death. And originally that acoustic version of Garden of Yes, it was originally going to be on a 7-inch. Huh? I apologize. This lag is really just this lag that I'm having here is really kind of a bummer.
Are you watching?
It was going to be I'm watching via StreamYard.
Okay. Because there's a lag between StreamYard and YouTube. I was just wondering if. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. And that's okay. It was. We were gonna do that. We're gonna do that song, and then a cover version of "But What Ends When the Cymbals Shatter" by Death and June. And that never came to fruition. But that song was still laying around. I had it on an old hard drive that I had, and then I found the other track, the metal track, on that same hard drive. And so I said, "Hey, well, why don't we just, listen to the world, if you will?" And that's just how it came about. I wanted them out. I wanted those songs out just for archival purposes, basically. Really nothing. I mean, the metal track, in my opinion, the metal track is a fantastic track, but that acoustic version of Garden of Death, it's a little odd. It's a folky acoustic song that I did on my nylon string guitar, but it's the same exact vocal track that Rob did for the metal version. That's so it's a weird dichotomy. Anyway.
Well, since the new album's out, and is essentially reintroduces the band. I mean, what is next for Canis Dirus? I mean, obviously there's a split coming with Bitter Spring Sleeps.
Sorry,
There's
Marty,
that,
what was that?
and I've got maybe.
Oh, I was just asking. The new album's out, and essentially you guys have been reintroduced after a long break. I mean, what's next other than the split with When Bitter Spring Sleeps? Is it full steam ahead?
What say you, Todd?
I mean, yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I've got three songs demoed already for for the new album. Writing is going a little bit slower, but writing actually might pick up here in the next maybe couple weeks, because I just got laid off my my day job for of close to 20 years. That's why, due to COVID, I got my walking papers. So I mean, I full steam ahead. Yeah, let's go.
Well, I guess that's all I have for questions. If anybody, there's like 20 some people watching. If anybody has any questions for Todd and Rob, now would be a time, and I will post them up. And while they're thinking about it, is there anything you would like people to take away from this album going when they check it out?
I'm gonna let Rob handle that one, because my dogs are at the back door and they're about to tear the door apart because they're trying to get in the house. So I'll be right back.
Who let the dogs in?
Well, so I would just like to say hello to my mother, my aunt, and my 12 uncles that are watching right now.
Very nice.
No, kidding. So for me, for one, to you, Marty, thank you for, first and foremost, the opportunity to release this with your fantastic label. It's a huge honor. You have no
thank
idea.
you. The honor is all ours. It's been great. It's a great album. We're proud of it. It's great stuff.
It really is. It really is. It should be your number one album. We should be your number one. I know Austin's watching. I don't care. We should be your premier artist. But anyway, no, it's I would really hope that people give it a shot. I mean, you're not going to pick it up and hear a Dark Throne album, and you're not going to pick it up and hear Amon Amarth or something like that. And that's not what we're trying to do. It's its own thing, and it's like a living. I fucking love it, man. And like the more I listen to it, I love it. And I think Unyielding, like Todd said, The Child is his favorite song. Unyielding is my favorite song. Child rules, but Unyielding, I mean, just the closing of that track alone to me is ridiculous. And it's so good. It's so good. And it just, in my opinion, that track, so that and The Child both, I think the lyrics and the music go together perfectly on both of them, if I may be so bold. But Unyielding is just such a way to close the album, and that it's just this cavernous, hopeless, fucking little doom excerpt that just kills me every time I hear it. So my one ask would be that people actually listen to it. If you can, listen on headphones, and just give it a chance. It's not, again, you're not going to get Dark Throne 2.0. You're not going to get, I don't know, whatever. It's not meant to be that. But I'll shut up since Todd's back from letting the dogs out. I thank you very much, Marty, for this opportunity, and thanks for letting us be the guinea pigs on this webcast.
Hey, right on. I really appreciate you guys coming and doing this. I know it's a little bit atypical, but it's kind of the way of the world,
Well, sorry, I'm not 25-year-old hot dude, that with kick-ass long hair, and but it's all right. This is the face of metal.
His face looks like their album sounds.
Exactly. I'm sorry. I just ruined all your albums. I just ruined all the sales there. Your first two albums, so yeah, the first two albums are available through a lot of different.
Before I do my
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Rob.
The first two albums are available through our Bandcamp. They're also available still at several labels or distros, I'm guessing. I don't know if it's cool to mention other labels on Marty's channel. So
go for it. No, I may have one or so of the first album. I used to have them both, but they've sold down. But go ahead, go for it. I put your Bandcamp, by the way. So
I'm sorry, what, Marty?
I put your Bandcamp address in the description, so people after this is done will be able to go through and see it.
Sweet. Yeah, so go to our Bandcamp and buy all kinds of shit.
Absolutely.
That's it. But yeah, and like Moribund's got them. They're around for sure if you want to find them.
We still do have physical copies of the first two CDs on our Bandcamp. We've got just some different merch. We've got patches. We've got a T-shirt, which actually brings me to something I wanted to say, that for the folks that pre-ordered our new hoodies and or long sleeves through Bandcamp, I just want to first apologize and say that it's taken a little bit longer for us to get them over to the quantities and the sizes and whatnot over to Marty, so that he can start getting those printed up. It just life happens, man. But they should be getting printed up soon and
this week
out to you guys. And thank you so much, everybody who bought this week. Okay, awesome. And I rambled a little bit there, but I don't even remember what the question was before I went and had to go let the dogs back in.
Just what did you want people to take away from this album?
Take away whatever it is that they take away from it. I mean, nobody can live our life experiences. I'm speaking of Rob and myself. But hopefully it's I don't know. Like he said, if you're looking for our Burzum-esque style of black metal that we did prior, it's you're probably going to be disappointed. But if you're looking for a very challenging record that is got a lot of different moods and flavors on it, then you're probably gonna like it. I mean, it's there. I think Bindrune is the perfect label for us right now because of the direction that we've taken. There's a lot of acoustic guitars on the record. There's mandolin on the record. It's an extremely diverse album. So hopefully people just see it for what it is, and kind of see our trajectory, and hopefully they just enjoy the album.
Before we wrap this, I do want to remind everybody watching that June 19th, this coming Friday, is the release date, and it's ready to go. I'm very close to getting the remainder of the pre-orders out. And we'll also be releasing a video for the song Father, which has been partially shot by Todd and arranged and edited, put together by Todd. Before we wrap it, is there anything you guys want to talk about the video? I wish I could play it as we're talking. That would be fancy, but I'm not that smart. So here we are. We'll talk about it.
I'll say that again. It's not a metal track. It's a straightforward neo folk song. It's I would say it's very much in the vein of like Off the Lawn and the Moon, maybe a little Death in June-ish. And again, it's I mean, if people were listening from the start and they hear that the name of the song is Father, they probably would put two and two together and know that it's a very personal song for me. In fact, I'm doing vocals on that one. And the video is kind of it's hard to explain. I kind of shot the video to make it look like this person, which happens to be me. I guess I'm kind of playing a part in the video, but this person is going through some turmoil and he's seeking some answers. And lo and behold, he gets some answers from the Allfather Odin, or as Rob likes to refer to him, the Wizard. But yeah, that'll be debuted on the Canis Dirus YouTube channel, as well as I believe Marty's going to put it up on here too. So,
right on. Tam's got a question for you. Todd and Rob, influences and favorite bands.
Oh man, that's insane.
It's hard to nail it down, isn't it?
So what I'm going to do, if I'll go first, and I'm just going to say, so I'm going to do two things. One, the most important album to me in terms of metal or rock and roll ever was Shout at the Devil, period. That a lot of people won't agree that started it for me. That changed my life. I was into Kiss and stuff like that before that. When Shout at the Devil came out, sixth grade, man, that blew my mind, and I was done. Recent bands that have just blown me away and that I bought from you actually, Marty, were the latest Merg album, Stravan, if I'm saying that correctly, is fantastic. And the most recent Vargrov album, which Todd turned me on to, was also fantastic. Those two are just constantly kicking my ass. So kind of from start to finish, that's what's happening with me right now. And tons of stuff in the middle, of course.
I think I like the first Vargrov a little bit better. I think it's a little...
All right, never mind. This is over. It just... Here's the thing, because I expected nothing of it. And like I had heard some things, and I read some reviews, and I thought, well, this is just going to be bullshit. And then Todd's like, you got to listen to this. You have to listen to this album. So I put it on one night, and I was just blown away. I had no idea what to expect. And I mean, and I hate to say this, but it reminded me so much of Emperor. It was just so beautiful. And I haven't heard something new like that, just like that, good in a while. So anyway. So that's my answer.
Okay, Todd.
Boy. I mean, I could go on forever because I'm not only a metalhead. I mean, I listen to everything from outlaw country to classical music. But just like what Rob was saying, I mean, in terms of newer, metal bands that I really listen to, that I like a lot. Merg again is fantastic. Vargrov is awesome. I really like Horn. The new album by Horn is just phenomenal. I mean, man, the list goes on. Bukari. Again, like I said, I could go on and on and on and on because there's just so much cool stuff out there right now. Twilight Fauna, his newest album is amazing.
I guess we'd be remiss in Panopticon as well.
Oh, for sure. Panopticon, absolutely. Yeah.
Eternal Bloodshed, Columbus, Ohio. Yes. Check them out, Marty. I'm telling you, you'll love them.
I will. Well, I guess that's it. thank you everybody for checking this out. We're going to probably be doing this again next Sunday, talking with Aaron and Andrew from Nechachwan. And I want to thank you guys, Todd and Rob, for being the guinea pigs in this and taking the time out of your busy days to do this. I really do appreciate it. And I guess that's it. Final words are yours. And when we're done, don't hang up. I want to talk to you guys afterwards, which I'll end the broadcast and we'll talk in the dugout. Okay.
Okay, Todd, you go first.
I was gonna say, let's. Again, thanks, Marty. Thanks for the opportunity to, work with us. Just seriously appreciate everything that you've done for us so far. I've said to you before, and sorry to turn this into a love fest, but man, Bindrune, ever since your inception, I mean, Bindrune has been one of my all-time favorite labels, and then to be able to have my music out on Bindrune, I mean, wow. Anyway, so thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
And thanks who have watched or are watching, or maybe will watch this in the future. Thanks for paying attention to our music. About it. Thanks.
And then, I mean, for me, yeah, thanks, Marty. Thanks so much for doing this again. We appreciate it. It's kind of cool for a couple of old goofy bastards to have this opportunity. So it's awesome. I want to say hello to my wife and children. I love you all very much. Lynette, Logan, and Ethan. I got to do that. Yeah, and really, guys, seriously, give the album a shot, man. It's fucking great. Todd did a hell of a job.
We both did.
I did a good job. I did a good job too, but I mean, Todd's music, I'm not saying that it's awesome. Like it really is really good. So anyway, I'm done.
If for the people that are watching that maybe aren't familiar with our stuff, our music, you are looking at, seriously, and I'm serious when I say this too, you are looking at one of the absolute best fucking metal vocalists out there right now. Rob is his versatility is amazing, and he's got this odd sense of timing that doesn't fuck up the music, but it actually enhances the music in a weird way. This band would not be near what it is without Rob. Seriously.
Well, thanks, man.
Right on. And again, thank you.
Thanks, Marty.
Yeah. So everybody,
thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next week.